Well, hello everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. More Leeds videos. Are you bored yet? I'm certainly not. We've got the second leg of the playoff final on Thursday. The build-up is, we're getting into it. We've got things coming up this week. Make sure you're checking out all the content. Patreon stuff coming up as well today, everybody. You can get your merch, link in the description below. Georgie's back on it, or is he? I don't know. We're going to get through that today, but I'm really excited to announce this as well, everybody. We did it last week on the Big Man Show as well. We've got a new show. I don't know if all of you guys are aware, but this is it. It's called Counterpoint. We're going to be going on Joe's channel. Then the week after, it's going to be my channel for the foreseeable future. We're going to be doing other bits together as well. And I'm really excited, about doing this with Joe. So you might be catching this tonight after you've been at work. You might be catching this on your lunch. We are doing it a little bit earlier than last week. However, really excited to get this stuff going. And I'm sure you guys are buzzing for it as well, because I know you've been clamoring for me and Joe to do something for a long, long time now, probably about 3-4 years. So I'm absolutely delighted to have him on the show at this early point of 10 a.m. I hope he's got his morning coffee, Mr. Wainman. Yes. How are you doing, my friend?
I do, although I've emptied it out, so I'm fine. And I've seen you get them brought. Unfortunately, I've got no one to bring them mine.
Do you know what? I was doing I think it was Instant Match Reaction or whatever it was yesterday, and I'd got back from the gym in the morning, mate, and like an absolute clown, I forgot that we were kicking off at 12, and I've knackered my leg, so I ran to the gym, and I'm trying to run back, but I can't run back because my leg is just absolutely knackered. So I'm power walking back like this up the road, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm in these like little hot pants shorts. You know what it's like. And then we've had no.
I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like.
And I've had no food, and she's bringing it to me at about 2 p.m. and I'm dying. And then you obviously you're talking, aren't you? So you don't want to get all the munchies on the microphone anyway. So it's a nightmare anyway. Hi, Conor. Caught you live. Woohoo in Western Oz. Yeah, Aussies all in the building. And yeah, 2 OGs of YouTube content. Good to see a lot of people in the building as well. Joshua says, morning, lads. Looking forward to this one. Missed the game yesterday, unfortunately. His wife was running the Sunderland half marathon. She smashed out a big PB positive to take into Thursday. Under the lights, Joe Wainman, give me a little synopsis on the game, mate. I mean, obviously Leeds getting a point down there, obviously the hoodoo's been eradicated a little bit, 6 goals conceded in 2 games. And I'll be honest, mate, I was going into this one yesterday and I was saying 1-1, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, and I think you were probably thinking something similar from the vibe I got from you, that we might struggle in this one. I in the back of my head, I couldn't get a 2-0 Norwich out of my head. So all positive on that front, mate.
Yeah, I'd said 2-1 either way, but like I say, I had the same as you. I was really nervous going into it. Like this 8 days that we had to wait between the end of the season and the first game was brutal. For me, it's been the longest of the season. I've said to you many a times now, I am tired. And even still now, I sit before you tired. I just want to know our fate, you know? Yeah. But what I will say, when I seen the lineup straight away, I went up a level. I was like, okay, naturally every fan does this on game day. I think you're like, right, come on, we can do this. And then when I seen the lineup an hour before kickoff, I'm going, right, okay, he's changed it. Because I'd said in my preview, Conor, that the worry for me was that Wagner will do this tactically. He will look to, maybe sit in at Ellen Road and get a point. And Wagner, let's not forget, got promoted with a terrible Huddersfield team, not even scoring a goal in open play. And Daniel Farker in the presser was talking about, we will not change anything, we will do our way, and that's the only way we'll go. And I'm thinking, oh man, if you go out with the same, you need to switch some up. And he actually did. And so straight away I was positive. I know you spoke about a 4-3-3. I know Andrea and Lockie mentioned a 4-3-3.
I think we spoke. I think we spoke about it on
on mine. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah. So that was really positive to see, because if we're being honest, the midfield was absolutely non-existent for them last few weeks of the season. It was getting bypassed like you would know tomorrow, like especially against Southampton. Will Smallbone just like had the whole of the midfield to himself at times. So the fact that he changed it up was good. And to go and get a 0-0. And I don't know if you know this, bro, but prior to that game, we had conceded 2.75 goals per game for the last 4 away games. So almost 3 a game for 4 away games. So the fact that we rested that and said, right, 0-0, we move, I'm really positive. And I'm actually confident, maybe not so, but I'm more positive now that we can get the job done at Ellen Road. If it was Someone made a good. I don't know how you feel about this, bro. If we had to defend a 1-0 lead, it would actually be worse for us at Ellen Road than actually being 0-0. That might sound wild, but do you get where I'm coming? Because it's like the nerves, oh God, we've got a 1-0 lead, whereas like we did against Derby, whereas if it's still 0-0, it's like, right, go out and win the game. Go out and win the game. And it's a different mentality, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think, I'd probably agree with you there. And listen, it's going to be, I think the Ellen Road factor makes me nervous, mate. It does make me nervous, but at the same time, it can be the best place to play. You know, as you know, obviously season ticket holder on that, it can be the best place to play, but it can be the worst place to play. We've seen so many Leeds players sort of cower, but like you said, I think the 0-0, I think for the fans, Joe, it did a massive favour, because what you're looking at now as an entire fan base is you've looked at us being solid at the back. We've not been great. I didn't think we were great going forward, and we'll get into that. But overall, you know, you've kept out a Norwich side who at home have really improved the form. And if I'm them, mate, I thought they were really poor. I'll be honest. Yeah. I thought they were really poor. I think in the home game, you've got to show more intensity than that. You've got to show a bit of, attacking nous and impetus. That they really had nothing. And what I will say is, I thought Rodon build up not great. I don't know what you thought about his build up and Byram's build up as a 2 on that side. I think it was great, but as just a solid base, I didn't think I was a bit worried about Sargent. I really was, and I thought Rodon's level stepped up massively.
100%. I watched your post match with your dad after, and I agreed with what he'd said about how poor Norwich looked going forward. I think outside of the 17th minute, they didn't have a shot on target. They were really bad. I think they looked even worse when Sargent went off. And Van Hooijdonk, by the way, I was like, is this Pierre? And it was. It's his son. I mean, he looked like an animal. I can't lie. He was a big lad, like his dad. I remember Pierre Van Hooijdonk at Forest. But anyway, that's irrelevant. But yeah, they looked even worse when he came on the pitch. So let's hope that he is out for the second leg, because they were bad. But then even worse when Sargent went off. We kept Sarah quiet. Kenny McLean couldn't get on the ball, which I was worried about, because I think he bossed it at Ellen Road, although we won that game.
Good player, and he's underrated, McLean.
Yeah, you can see why Farken wanted him now, bro. Yeah, you can see. Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't go up, that he has another little nibble there for a bit more experience in midfield. Johnny Rowe, again, locked off by Fairport. That's a couple of games now where he's been very quiet, and we know how good he is. Defensively, there are shambles as well. Like, I think at Ellen Road we can get at them. Just on the road on chat though as well, mate. And I put this a lot down to the goalkeeper, or maybe the instructions from the manager. The amount of times, as soon as the ball goes out to Road on, the opposition press him, and he can either go down the channel and it goes straight to a Norwich, or he gives it to Byram and he does the same down the channel and it goes straight to Norwich. So it's almost like that build-up down the right's not working anymore for me. I don't remember, and I remember doing it on the watch-along, seeing much of Ampadu at all. Like, and I guess that's a good thing from a defensive standpoint, but he wasn't doing any of that build-up that we've seen, I don't think. And I don't know
how much are we missing Pascal?
100%. Yeah, massive. Massive. It's I think, is it too wild to say that had he have not got injured, we'd have gone up top 2, do you think? I don't think it's that wild.
Ampadu in midfield as well would have been massive, wouldn't it?
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to, so obviously we spoke about the 4-3-3. I don't know if I think from obviously you watch my stuff, and obviously I watch your stuff on your reaction to the game as well. I know you thought it was positive, Joe, but oh man, one player, and you'll get this a lot from me, and I don't think anybody else calls it out, which is fine, absolutely fine. Gruev. Oh my God. I don't know if it's because I played there, Joe. You'll know if you've played the game and stuff, when it's in your position and you sort of know the pressures of it a little bit, and you know the demand that's put on him and the load that's put on him. I don't know if it's just instruction, mate, and it probably is. But there's nothing more frustrating for me than a DM who I think is the ability. Someone called him an anchor in my comments, and I think he is an anchor just in that role. You know, building up from that deep lying place, really. What we've spoken about Kenny McLean doing, and he did it at Ellen Road. You're getting the ball deep, getting almost in that sweeper role between the centre backs, like Calvin used to do.
Yeah.
And starting to move it quicker. And I just feel, mate, I don't know if it, because I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because I find myself going a bit nuts, to be honest, because everywhere I see it's, Gruev was good, but I'm like, he's good, but I find him so limited, and I think that he doesn't open his body enough for me, mate. And I think if he opened his body out, Archie'd get a lot more joy. Kamara would get a lot more joy in those roles. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I can't relate. The only player I can relate to is Cooper riding bench, mate, or everyone thinking you shit. You know what I mean? That's the only player I can relate to. But in terms of Gruev, I do think it's an instruction, mate, because that first game when he actually played where he's playing now, not when he was coming on in the 10 or he was coming on for a few minutes here and there, and we were like, what's this guy? That first game, I remember doing a short about it. I had Ollie Ward on my channel. He was calling him Busquets. I was saying he was like Calvin the way he was spraying it about, and the amount of love that he was getting them first few games. And I think a lot of it was because he was spraying balls left and right. He was being a little bit more adventurous, and it almost feels now it's like risk averse. It's like you get the ball and you move it to the side. You get the ball, you go backwards. And it is frustrating when you're, I love how Andreas says it. He talks about verticality. No vertical passes. There's none of that with him, and it is frustrating, but I don't want to castigate him as such. I think it's an instruction. I do think defensively he's very good, with in the challenge and stuff. But in terms of moving the ball, yeah, I get your frustrations. I think it's a frustration with them all. Although I do think in the second half, Kamara improved massively.
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
Very good. Very good. Back to his best, if you like. But yeah, I get why you're frustrated with Gruev, mate, because it is a lot of just sideways and backwards in it. And sometimes you think, come on, man, a bit quicker, a little bit more incision.
Do you think we'd be better if we employed more long balls? Do you think we'd be better if we looked a little bit more expansively, like, in terms of, I'd sort of comment on it a lot as if, like, we shift over as a unit with a lot of these short passes, and then the opposition do. And you kind of saw it yesterday, and you've seen it throughout the season, really, Joe. And I feel that maybe a long ball cross field it'd help us so much, mate, in so many areas. Like, it literally put the likes of, McCallum yesterday up against Nonto directly, or Somerville, I can't remember who he was up against. But I just feel it would be so many more 1v1 scenarios. And with the wingers that we've got, it'd be like, wow, they're going to torch them here.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think I said during the game, I think, sometimes I hate to say it, but it can get that congested and that narrow. It's a bit like Jesse Marsh, mate, if we're being totally honest. Like when Somerville picks it up in central areas, when he's not getting any joy out on the left, and I'm looking and he's got four yellow shirts around him, and I'm thinking, how can you expect him to do anything in these moments?
Yeah.
And then he'll get a lot of, not hate, but he'll get a lot of frustrated fans. He's rubbish, he needs rest and all that. But it's like, sometimes you have to give him the opportunity to run at a fullback, and we don't do that. Earlier on in the season, you'd have Archie stood out there, Dan James out there, and the ball was never put out. I do agree with you. If you're going to move everyone over to one side, and you do have someone with the capabilities of a Nonto, of a James, whoever it may be, out on the right or left, we do need to get the ball out there, but again, it almost feels risk adverse at times, and especially yesterday. And I sort of get that yesterday, but over the course of this isn't nothing new. You're right. We've been doing this all season, so it would be great, because when you're expecting Somerville to work magic, when he's already been earmarked probably all week in training from the coaching team saying, listen, don't let some of it, because if you look, he picked it up one moment at the edge of the box, and I'm thinking he's going to try cutting and spin, and they just trapped him all the way, and they know what he's going to do. So we do need to, have more variation in our play, 100%, mate, because it does get a little bit monotonous, man. Even watching it can get monotonous. I'm like, for fuck's sake, left, right, right, here we go again,
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think the 4-3-3. My thoughts on Joseph, mate, but I think he definitely went there for a point, because what he did was he just went, do you know what? You want a striker? Well, I'm not going to give you one. I'm just going to put a bunch of midfielders on there instead. So yeah, you've got to say respect to Farker, because he went there with the game plan. I do think, like, having a night's sleep on it, getting up the next day and thinking about it again, I think it was a much better result than it was for us than it was them. I think I'd be so tempted. I mean, we'll talk about Perot again, sort of coming on. God, I just get to a point, mate, where I must sound like a broken record, but Joseph, you know, I don't see the downside, mate, at this moment in time. A number 9. Look, we're bored of talking about it, Joe, but would that be a change that you'd make, or would you look at a similar outfit going into the semi-final? Because obviously Roberts is going to be available, James is going to be fit, it looks like, for this one as well. Would you go about changing anything, or would you go with the sort of another defensive approach? For me, Joe, at Ellen Road, they've got to go for it. It's got to be a different game plan.
I think we've got to get just on the game. If we get the first goal, right? If we score early, that's perfect, because Norwich, they can't wait on it and but they've got to try get back into the game, right? And when they try get back into the game, that's going to leave massive holes at the back, which is then going to feed into the wingers, and the likes of Dan James, for example, if he was to be used or come off the bench. I do think yesterday, when I seen it, I was almost hoping that Nonto would have played through the middle, just because he's played as a 9 for Italy before, and maybe play Rutter out wide, because I did say Rutter can't finish his dinner. And one time, the cross in the first 5 minutes, probably our best opportunity that won't mark down as XG because he didn't even fucking kick the ball, was the cross. Like, any other player, even Bamford connects with that, bro.
Yeah, he does.
And it's either on target and the keeper has to make a save, or it's a goal. It was the perfect pass. Perfect. He gets there ahead of Duffy and then just totally air shots it. And I'm like, oh my God. So I think any other player in that attacking 5 that we talk about, bar Rutter, connects with the football at least. I think he's massively unconfident right now, and he's very much a confidence player. And I would take him out. I think he could do with coming off the bench. I get he can create a moment of magic, but I felt yesterday he lost it a few times as well. There's a moment in the corner where he gets a touch from, I think it's Boyer Sainz, and instead of going down, because Boyer Sainz, he tries to stay on his feet and Cruyff turn. Now, he did end up winning a free kick in the end because he didn't get pulled down. But I'm thinking at that moment, 2 moments before, he'd pressed Kenny McLean. Kenny McLean felt the slightest of touch and hit the deck and won a free kick. Now, it was an almost similar area that he lost the ball against Borough and they went and scored from. And that's where we lack that experience. I know this is just on Rutter. I think it's them moments when I'm like, oh, you're making the wrong decisions. You're not doing the right things at the right time right now.
Just to add to your point, Joe, it was even in the corner flag when we were defending, and he tried to nutmeg there. I think he tried to nutmeg Gabby Sarr, and then he gave away free. It's just time. You don't do that there in a playoff semi, do you?
Nah, definitely not. And again, I think that comes to a lack of experience throughout the squad, really. And yeah, someone needs to be getting hold of him, saying, "Don't be doing silly things there." It's wild. So for me, I would actually bring him out, mate. And this might sound wild, but of course, I prefer Joseph to start there at this point. I can't get away from the fact that I bang the Bamford drum. I'm not just doing that for the crowd on the One Leeds channel, but I have said for a few weeks now that I would like to see Joseph given a go. However, I don't think he's going to, unfortunately. If you don't think he's ready in regulation season, he's not going to give him time in a cup competition, as it were, in the semi-final of a cup. One more game and you're at Wembley. Do you not think Pirro would be a better option in a 4-3-3 than Rutter as the 9? Or not at all? Are you just done on Pirro?
I think the thing is, Joe, I guess you're in. I don't know what shape we were in when he came on yesterday. It was probably a 4-3-3. I don't know if if it turned points into more of like a 4-5-1, but he's complete. I honestly, Joe, as a footballer, I think Farker has to be getting more out of him. Whether or not that's mirroring a little bit of what Swansea did, I don't know. But Swansea played 4-3-3 at points as well with him in there. I think he had Patterson next to him, and then Obafemi was in front of them as the focal point. But he needs to have time, doesn't he, Joe, to get into that role, the 4-3-3. He's not fully got into it yet, I don't think. But obviously, after that game, he just seems to drift out of games too much for me, and I don't think we're getting enough on the other side for him to really stake a claim. But the 4-3-3, it's interesting because I mentioned it on my preview. If you are to play him, that's got to be his best position because he's just almost going to float into that Harry Kane role, isn't he? Where he just dips back. But I look at Joseph and I think with Duffy and Gibson at the back. I know it sounds daft, but he's got the dark arts, I feel, a little bit as well, Joe. Joseph in his game in terms of just going down a little bit at the right moments, winning his free kicks in the right area. And just pace, absolute pace, which for those two, I mean, we've got to give them the run around. They've got to give them the run around, Duffy and Gibson, haven't they? Really?
Yeah. They're rubbish. I always make just sweeping statements, don't I? But they're just championship, bro. They're championship, you know. Ben Gibson had a decent start at Borough. Norwich took him up to the Prem. But, yeah, he's gone nowhere. We know about Duffy. I mean, again, rubbish. And, you know, we can get on the offside goal. I thought it was offside. Farker says not. But anyway, that's by the by. But you've seen what calamity they did there in that moment, you know, when Firpo puts it in the back of the net. So defensively, genuinely, I think they're pretty gash. And having someone like Mateo Joseph running at them for 90 minutes, 70 minutes, whatever it may be, would cause them all sorts of problems, you know, especially with Nonto and Somerville either side. I just think that youthful exuberance can sometimes work wonders, can't it, in big moments, as we've already seen. This season.
Is it been a problem this season for you, Joe, that he's probably not involved in maybe him, Anthony, Cresswell, Gelhardt? He's not at least involved them a little bit more, so they're not cold. I feel right now they're cold coming into these competition. This competition, I should say.
Yeah, I said this. Was it the Southampton game? He brought Joffrey and that on. Or QPR maybe, and I'm saying you turn into these lads with no disrespect. And listen, I'm a big Farker supporter. Again, I'm a massive Farker supporter. But I did say after that game, it's like, how can you expect these lads to do you a job when you've not even used them at all? You know, it was almost like, for me, that's when you know it's going tits up. Because for me, and I'll even say it about Bielsa, that let's not forget when he brought Jean-Kevin Augustin on and that against Derby. You knew at that point he was just throwing darts at a dartboard. He'd lost it. Yeah, I've lost this. I don't know what to do. I'll just throw him on. We've seen Jesse Marsh do it at times, you know, just make wild decisions that just made no rhyme, no reason. And that was the same when you're bringing on Joffrey, when you're bringing on these players that you've barely not used, it's showing that I ain't got a clue anymore, so I'm just going to throw these people on. So, yeah, I think, again, you mentioned that Cole thing. Loads of people said it throughout the season, and obviously I back the manager. I'm going, well, he clearly don't think they're ready. He don't think they're good enough, and etc. But let's look at Anthony as a perfect point. This is a guy that had played in the Premier League like 3 games before he even came. You know, he'd played in a promotion winning side in Bournemouth and done well. He's more than capable at this level. And I get that Somerville's been absolutely amazing this season. But there has been games when Leeds have been winning comfortably that you could have brought off Somerville sooner and maybe brought Anthony on to then, you know, score the odd goal, get a bit of confidence, using more. I think what happened for me, bro, and I don't know if you agree, is when he switched it around at Stoke and it went to shit, I think he looked at them and went, nah, you've let me down, and then just, that was it. That was it then. Do you remember that team at Stoke when we got beat and Anthony, and he made all these changes and it didn't work? And it almost like he went, yeah, I'm not doing that again. But are we paying the price for that? You could argue potentially with the fall off. But yeah, I do think it's like in everyday life, bro. If you ask someone to do something and then at the last minute, you know, I know I've not spoken to you for age, but do you mind doing this favour? They'll be like, you're taking the piss. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit like that, isn't it, in a way? Yeah. So you can't expect them to hit the ground running when they've barely played. But I do think Anthony looked really, really good. Really, really good when he came on. And
yeah, I saw people saying that he wasn't. They don't understand what he offers, and I thought, well, he's getting on the ball. He's being direct. He's had a shot on. I know it sounds daft, Joe, but I love the fact he has a go, Anthony. He just has a go, and that's something that I've put at the door a little bit of Gelhardt as well. You know, at points, and people say to me as well, Joe, and I understand it to an extent. But they say, well, look at what he did at Sunderland. That's the completely different context. But look, what's he done at Leeds? Blah blah. And I said, well, at crux moments at Leeds, if we are judging him on that at points, he's turned up for the big games as Gelhardt, and he's only been given minimal minutes. And I just think at points where Georgie's maybe not working, it's not happening. You've got to look at his technical ability, Gelhardt, in these small pockets, and I think he could be really, really advantageous to Leeds. But like you've quite rightly said, I thought in particular with Anthony, he really came on. And do you think in the second half, Joe, I thought without completely taking it away from Norwich, I thought we bossed it a little bit. I thought they started going long. I didn't think there was any real patterns of play. And I think if there was one team that was going to score, I mean, I said it in my post-match that if it was a boxing match, Leeds would have won on points. And I think it would have been that second half, which sort of would have been the moment where you look at it and go, okay, that's where Leeds sort of dominated and took it away from Norwich a little bit.
Yeah. I can't remember many clear cut. I don't think we had any, did we? I think the most clear cut chance was that Rutter one in the first 5 minutes. But yeah, the second half for me, Conor, was without scoring was domination. We dominated them. I think LUFC data had said like more than like 80% of our touches in the box came in the second half. Like it was all Leeds United at that moment. So what I take confidence from that is that hopefully we get 90 minutes of that at Ellen Road, and you would hope that during that time, you know, we will be able to create enough chances. I think Jamie's hit the nail on the head. Yes, we dominated the game, but again, no creation was a problem, and that is a problem, and it is becoming a problem that we don't create enough. But I do think yesterday, and again, I'll put this to you, mate, like we were chatting about Gray. Gray had a job to do yesterday in terms of just covering ground, making sure that McLean couldn't get on it. If he does go with the 4-3-3 at home, does that change slightly for you? Does it have a more of an attacking dynamic than it did away at Carrow Road? Does that make sense? Are we going to adopt it slightly different? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm just hoping that the chance creation yesterday was limited due to the fact that it was risk averse. It was defend first. Let's get out of here with a clean sheet. At Ellen Road, we need to go win the game. Is he then going to say, right, okay, I want you pressing up high. I want you getting on top of them as soon as they get the ball. Let's not sit in. And I think as well, that could work a treat, because I don't think that, you know, on the ball, Gibson and Duffy are up to much, if I'm honest. And I thought Gunn was a bit wayward as well. I mean, not as bad as our keeper in terms of his
don't you worry, mate. We'll get onto him in a
bit. But yeah, do you expect that to change slightly, the dynamic in midfield? Will Gray be used as more, you know, higher up potentially? I'm not too sure.
I think he'll go 4-2-3-1, you know.
Do you go back?
Yeah, I think he's going to go back, which... Yeah, got the result at Ellen Road, but then do you go back? Can you go back to 4-2-3-1 without Bamford at the minute if he's not playing? So. If he's not playing, Joseph, you can't go to a 4-2-3. Like you said, it's Joe as well with Rutter in the 9. It's just basics. Like even for that offside goal, why are you the wrong side of the defender? Why are you the wrong side of the defender? You know, how many times do you get called offside in that first half? Like 2-3 times in good positions. He's not a striker, and he cannot be putting him as that focal point, as that spearhead for me. So, the 4-3-3 is definitely something I would. Do you think? I mean, I sort of called out on Archie struggling yesterday, and I thought he did struggle. But is it maybe a case of us not finding him in those pockets as well? You know, I watched the extended highlights this morning. I don't know if you've seen them, but I was looking at him actually, and I thought he's making a run there. And we're not finding him. But then again, Joe, you look at that. You look at those long balls of which, you know, if Archie's trying to split the centre-backs or whatever and running through, or splitting McLean and Nunez and trying to run through, we're not going to find him at those points because we don't play the long ball. And it feels, I definitely would go to a 3 because I think Archie can perform better, especially at home if he's given a little bit more license. Maybe you move him into a 10. I felt like he was a little bit of an 8 yesterday. But I worry a little bit about the 4-2-3-1 and Vibes FC just going through Somerville.
Yeah, I did put this to the lads yesterday on my post-match reaction about if they felt that he would switch back, because but they sort of convinced me that he'll go with the 4-3-3. It is. I hope he doesn't switch back, Conor. I hope he doesn't switch back, because I think what he did yesterday is really probably surprised Wagner, because I know he surprised us. And then you've got a week's worth of training for Norwich where they're thinking, oh, do they go with the 3? Do they go back to the 4-2-3-1 now they're at home? I want us to keep that. I don't want to drop back, because what I found quite interesting yesterday when I watched Southampton, and that game was just as bad as ours. What a terrible advert for the Championship it was, by the way.
Awful.
The 2 games were shocking. They kept their 3 at the back with Stevens, Bednarak and Howard Bellis. So obviously Martin liked what happened at Ellen Road. I said, we're going to keep that moving forward. And I hope, you know, having seen for me, what was a decent-ish performance. I hope we do keep it and like you say, adopt Gray's more 10. And I did notice the runs that he made as well, mate. I said it a few times myself during the game. He's made a run there. But I just think his main objective yesterday was just to move laterally, like left to right, cover the spaces. And I think he did that well. I genuinely think yesterday was get out of there without losing. I do think that.
Well, if we look at it collectively, the players who underperformed probably did okay in certain aspects. Like Archie after the game, I was talking here. I don't think his data was great. I don't think in possession he was great. But like you can look at Archie, Joe, and you can say, look, he was making the runs and he wasn't found. Gruev does my nutting, to be honest, and you know that. But it's one of those really with Gruev where if he's been tasked with that, I'll give him a little bit of leeway. And apart from that, we'll get onto that one. Where he nearly lost the ball and they nearly got in toward the start of the game. He was okay in other aspects, and then you can maybe look at Rodon and say his build-up wasn't great. Byron build-up wasn't great, but defensively they were both really good. The one man who we've got to discuss who puts the absolute heebie-jeebies up me, and every single time I watch him, and you are a big you were a big fan.
I have to take my medicine here. Best keeper in the league, I said, didn't I? I have to take my medicine.
but you watched the game yesterday, mate, and you watched Palmer at West Bromwich Albion, and I just thought you compare those two, and it is night and day. And he just looks, Joe. The camera focuses. It's almost like Sky know now as well, don't they? Sky know to focus on him every single time he makes a bit of a cock up, and you just see it in his face, and he looks terrified. He looks absolutely terrified after he's made a mistake. I mean, does that? I always think goalkeeper is such an important position. It instills confidence in the back four, but also the team. You saw it with Palmer yesterday. He's barking at his defender. He's barking at Bartley, Furlong, Townsend, and they're all experienced pros, and he's still barking at them. And he made a really good reflex save as well. Yeah. But I just look at Meslier, mate, and I think I understand the other 10 on the pitch yesterday. Some of them maybe underperformed, as I've just mentioned, but overall, I'm all right with it because they got the point. I know Melié's part of that. But I tell you what, mate, at points, it's almost like he's doing his best to throw it away. It is just, he puts the absolute what's up me. I mean, what's your feelings on him at the minute?
Yeah, not great. I think someone mentioned yesterday about him being a confidence player. Your goalkeeper can't be a confidence player, can he? No. He can't, because while everyone else's confidence is on the floor and you're conceding goals, he needs to be the man to stand up and say, right, okay, we've got this. I'll get us out of this. I look at someone like, and people might not rate him, but Jordan Pickford's a prime example of when Everton have been in the shit, he pulls off absolute worldies at times. Yeah. You mentioned the two keepers yesterday. Alex McCarthy made 2 saves on the line. Palmer, he dives to the left, notices the ball's took a deflection, sticks out his right boot and makes a
quality that
save.
one.
Yeah,
quality.
Really good. And I look, and I hate to say it because he didn't really have any saves to make, but I think would Meslier do that? And he wouldn't, unfortunately. They go in. They go in, unfortunately. Look. Yeah, he looks shaky. I think, yes, the passing to Gruev was not the right pass, although I do think Gruev asked for the ball and his touch let him down. I think he wanted the ball quick and then he wants to get it straight out to Ampadu. That's when I seen it back, it looked like and his touch was heavy. But Meslier should also look at that and see him with 3 yellow shirts and say, do you know what? You're not getting it. You're not getting it. But so many times, 5-yard passes, 10-yard passes out to Rodon were hitting, going out of touch. And that's really frustrating because we know over the past few seasons, even under Bielsa, we have been our own worst enemy when it comes to conceding goals. We always do something that and it allows, especially when we've been on top. That seems to be a thing. Unfortunately, we'd be on top in games and make the most silliest of errors and see the goal go in the back of the net. And in such a pressure moment, you don't want another Kiko, do you? Look what happened at Ellen Road against Derby County when we had Kiko and Cooper in the mix-up, and you just don't want that, and you feel that you could get that now. Unfortunately,
as well, Joe. Not another Leeds pod is just mentioned in there. It'll be Danny, won't it? And Danny's just said that you must have seen this as well. I've seen this a couple of times as well, even just being down at Ellen Road. Ampadu turns around and he starts shouting at him. Which is just an awful message, isn't it? Not from Ampadu's side, but just it doesn't feel like he's breeding any confidence whatsoever.
100%. I think Latty scored for Middlesbrough, and I just seen Byram turn round to him at that moment and just be like, even you can tell they're probably getting frustrated by it, and nerves is never a good thing, right? When you're facing a set piece. Every time Norwich got one, I was shitting bricks as well, mate, especially from corners. When I seen they were the second best team in the league for scoring from corners, I was like, oh, nah. But yeah, unfortunately, we can't change it, and the keepers that are in waiting are not good enough. Darlow's not good enough. No. Klaassen, some people go, he's never conceded. I think he's still dog dirt. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion. But yeah, it's an area of the pitch that needs addressing in the summer. And I can't believe I'm saying that because but the fall off has been quite drastic. Let's not pretend when he burst onto the scene and he had that first season and we finished ninth that he weren't a good goalkeeper. But maybe he just needs we both need a break in, and he needs to go find himself again in Europe, maybe. Because players have done it. We only have to look at ourselves and see. I know these are youth players, but look at Leif Davis, what he's done. He's now a Premier League left back. Look at Jack Clark. A host of clubs want him in the Premier League after dropping to League One, after being at Spurs, and then being on loan at Championship clubs. So, he will probably. But I would like a new keeper, and it is mad to think. I got battered for it, and. Me, when I back a player, I'm like, he's the best in the league. And people have said, there's like 15 best keepers. And now I look at it and I go, I think they might be right, actually. Maybe there is that many better keepers.
But I do think you're right in a sense of like that. I think the development is really it's killed him, hasn't it? Like you look at post Bielsa. I don't think he was ever like top under. I don't think he was like a top keeper or whatever, but. I don't think there'd be as many mistakes in front of him. And he has, last season, the season before, he'd had like a torrid time with the defence in front of him as well. He was really the only constant there. So I think there are variables in there, Joe, but I think just his game in particular, like I say, post Bielsa, I don't think it's developed at all, mate. And that managerial changes, I think, have massively impacted like a 2-year span of Meslier.
Yeah, massively. And it's going to, isn't it, right? It's going to, obviously... I do think mentality-wise, being called upon when Kiko was injured and then doing as well as you've done is bursting on the scene. And like I say, he did well in a season that we were looking to get promoted. We then did get promoted. He's then taken out of the side by Sam Allardyce. See Carl Darlow coming in, and I genuinely believe Carl Darlow was brought in to be number one. I do. He'd had a very good season at Hull City before that. And we know how Liam Rossini likes to play, so they've probably looked at that. And then he's stood up to that. He stood up to that and managed to come through. So there has been parts in the season where we have been able to rely on him. And we can't forget we went like 13 games without conceding a goal from open play. And he's the number one in that time. But yeah, I think just of late, mate, when the going's got tough, Mellier's not got going, unfortunately. And I think him getting a clean sheet will have done him the world of good, though, and hopefully. And those that in the chat that are saying he's a good shot stopper, I don't think he is. He's great one-on-one. I don't think you can question Meslier one-on-one. I don't think his shot stopping is great. What do we count as shot stopping? I think, I've seen many a goal go in quite easily, actually. I even look at the Latila one, which I think he could have saved. I think his real qualities come from his one-on-one ability. I remember like Bukayo Saka going through and not being able to beat him and stuff, and that's not easy. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I guess the Keenan Dewsbury Hall save, that's classed as shot stopping. Listen, I'm not a goalkeeper. It's hard for us to chat about him. But what I will say is Foreman took a massive dive. And yesterday, again, when everyone else was pretty calm, he was the one that was putting the shits up us all, if we're being totally honest.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's exactly what it is. I think yesterday he was just the one who was nerving us out a little bit. And when 10 players outfield, yeah, some of them weren't at the top of their game, but we were all right with it, weren't we? But it's interesting the point that you make about the press as well. They've, I feel like in some games, I don't know about you, but and we're not tactical experts, but there's a bit of a half press, if that's what you want to call it. And then some games, especially earlier on in the season, you've seen Leeds fully press. But with Gibson at the back, with Duffy, I thought the keeper looked a bit shaky as well on kicks yesterday.
Yeah.
I do think to myself, there's a little bit of an opportunity there for Leeds, and especially as well, Joe. Like, I mean, the Southampton game yesterday, you were watching it. West Brom, I thought they got the press spot on from the front. You know, Mikey Johnston, Asante, they were absolutely all over him, and they couldn't really pass out from the back. West Brom robbed them a couple of times. They just didn't take the chances. And you feel if we just had a little bit more of that, a little bit more of an intense press, some of these teams will. I mean, it's Championship, Joe. We're talking about Championship footballers here. We're not talking about Premier League footballers where you press on a side and it's 3 passes and they're through. It's Championship footballers where they're gonna make mistakes, and I just think we need to commit to that a little bit more.
I think we will see that on Thursday night, mate. I do think we will see that. I think, like I say, yesterday for me was all about getting out of Carrow Road without losing, and we did that. I think, we can be more happier of the two sides. At the end of the day, we're at Ellen Road. The impetus is on us to go and win that game. I think we should go out. People might disagree, but we should go out and absolutely batter and beat them up in the first 20 minutes, because if we get a goal, then it's massively in Leeds United's favour. Do what we did against Middlesbrough in the second half, where we said, you know what, Middlesbrough, you have the ball, come on to us and we'll just catch you on the counter. If you can get a goal in that first half, genuinely, I think the second half could be a cakewalk for Leeds United, because then you bring on players like Dan James, because at the end of the day, folks, this isn't regulation season. David Wagner has to send his Norwich team out to go and win that game, or at least get back into it. So an early goal for Leeds United, if we start well, score, would be just amazing. And look, what I will say, I won't get too giddy on the game, because we did that against Derby, and we all know.
I'm with you.
You mentioned it yesterday, and I think it's a great point. But that's got to be the game plan. Go out, get on top of them, strangle them. Because for me, I don't want us to go cagey at home and wait for later on in the game, because Wagner will love that, and he'll see that and say, do you know what? These can outgun us. So let's see if we can get them to extra time and pens. And imagine pens at Ellen Road, bro.
Oh.
Nah.
Has he ever saved the penalty?
Someone was saying this yesterday, and I don't know. But the longer it stays 0-0, the more chance they have. So you've got to go out like Trojan horses for me in that first 20 minutes and press them and just get in front, because then it's on them, and we can say, we'll sit back and catch you on the counter. And if we're being honest, Leeds United are best in transition, if not the best in the league for me, Conor.
Yeah, I think there's a genuine reality here. His game plans are really weird, Wagner, especially away from home. Against us, I didn't really know what they were doing. They were so defensive for parts of it. But Ellen Road that night, Joe, I thought we were pretty poor. We were in first gear. We didn't get up the gears at all, and we managed to run out 1-0 winners when I feel like they could have really pressed it on us. But I wonder if he's going to come defensive again. I wonder if he's going to play for pens, I wonder if he's going to play for pens with like an attack or two. I wonder what they're going to be like in training. I'm hoping we're practicing as well. England settings, do you know what I mean?
I can't imagine that. Well, mate, he's done it with Huddersfield, bro. He didn't score a single goal and got to the Premier League. So, yeah, this is the mad thing. It's like you've got style managers in Farker and Martin against tacticos in Wagner and Corberand, you know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense. Can I ask you a quick question? Who do you want to face in the final? But if we do win on Thursday, who do you want to progress? Because I'm all over West Brom, mate. Give me West Brom.
Yeah, West Brom. I don't. The worst thing for me is that, because I don't know about you, but he in the Southampton game, I think we spoke about it before. Like, he said in the post-match that, like, our midfield, that, like, he was doing something like, we're hell for leather. Our midfield was pressing up high. I'm looking at it. I'm like, Daniel, we're just getting popped off, mate. They're setting traps and we're falling into the traps. Like, you've not tried something tactically different here. And I just thought in that Southampton game, mate, both games we saw similarities. I think I mentioned it on my post-match. You saw them for large periods dominating the ball, which we know they're going to do. You saw Adam Armstrong being a pest again, and you saw Will Smallbone arriving late again. And I feel, mate, on a big Wembley pitch, I think we've got to commit to a press. If we play them at Wembley, we've just got to commit to it, and we've just got to rely on that back line, because if we half-arse it like we did the other day, they're just going to pop us off. And like you've got to take lessons from what West Brom did yesterday. But yeah, mate, I think if we come up against them on a big pitch, I'd put us second favourites. I would for that game. I wouldn't put us favourites at all. I mean, what about you against Southampton in the final? Worst case scenario.
Yeah, look, they've beaten us twice this season. I think on both occasions they did it quite comfortably. I even think, and I agree with you. I'm Farke's biggest fan, but I didn't agree with this all. We had to go out and win the game hell for leather, and I just thought it just looked disjointed and massive gaps everywhere. That wasn't hell for leather. We didn't even create anything hardly. So I could understand if we were creating loads of goals and they just caught us on the counter, but we didn't do that. So
felt very like you said, mate, marshy in that game, didn't it?
Yeah. It's not. Look, it wasn't great at all, and I'm glad that he's changed it, as I say, for Norwich. But definitely West Brom every day of the week. If West Brom could finish as well, they'd have done a lot better this season. They do struggle in front of goal. There'll be moments in that game if we did play them, they would cause us problems. Mickey Johnston, for example, I think is a phenomenal player, so good with the ball at his feet. But just out of the two, the thing that worries me against Southampton is midfield. Games are won and lost there, and their midfield are Flynn Downs, Will Smallbone. I don't know what the situation is with Stuart Armstrong, but let's hope he's not going to be fit if we do get to the final.
He's a lovely player, Flynn Downs, and he's a lovely player.
Great player, and you can see why West Ham took him, and obviously it's not worked out for him there. But I think he might get another bite of the cherry under Lopetegui, because Moyes has his favourites, doesn't he? But he's a very, very good player, mate. Very good player.
But I mean, it's funny actually. You can take lessons from Norwich, Joe, because in 2015, you'll know by being part of that world as well. And I think we had a bit more of a rough and tough with them back then as well, and they were sort of on top. But Borough, listen, they beat Norwich twice, and they went to the playoff final with them in 2015. And I think Norwich were 2-0 up inside 30 minutes, and they beat them comfortably. So. My hope's not, I'm not looking at Southampton and thinking it's all done at all. I'd be looking at that and I'd be thinking, right, I've seen my manager now tactically adapt, which I've been asking for all season. Hopefully we've got a good result, like we've just mentioned, obviously against Norwich, if we are going to be there. And you've seen him involve different personnel, maybe giving other people a little bit longer on the pitch. And if I see that, and I've seen him obviously tactically, and that'll have given confidence with him yesterday, Joe. Massive confidence with so many players yesterday that we've stopped the rot. We've gone to a tough team. We've got a decent home record, and we've got a result, a positive result. And I'd be fearful because I think they're a good team. They've done us twice, but I wouldn't be going into that game thinking it's all lost already,
I don't know.
Would you? Yeah.
I don't know. Of course not. Wembley, anything can happen. I think that, like you mentioned there, the big pitch helping Southampton, but it also aids us as well. I think might be able to actually give Somerville a bit of space for once, because he hasn't had it for a long time. But yeah, look, we've got to get there first, haven't we, buddy? And, I think we took a massive step yesterday. I think Southampton will feel the same. Both of us going away, not conceding, drawing the game, knowing that, look, at the end of the day, if someone had said probably to you, Conor, back in September, your one win at home away from a playoff final, you'd have snapped their hands off then. And I know the season didn't go as well as we wanted it to in the end, but I think you'd have snapped their hand off, right?
I would, mate. Yeah, I definitely would. I can't back out from that.
And we've only lost twice at home, bro, all season. So we have to be confident going into this second leg. We have to.
Yeah, we do. They've just got to, what's your thought? I mean, you've experienced it for as many years as you have. I've experienced it. We've experienced it together. I was going to make a joke then, but it's not something I'm not going to get monetized. But Ellen Road, mate, under the lights, playoffs. I've been there for Millwall. I've been there for obviously Derby. Carlisle. I was there. there is just something different, isn't there, mate? I mean,
Yeah.
I think you are right in terms of how the game has to plan out. I think we have to score. If we don't score first, you know what that place is
100%.
like.
Yeah, it's unforgiving. It's unforgiving, but I think it's Ellen Road depends on how it's going on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. If we miss chances early doors, let's say we're on top, we miss chances early doors, straight away, the feeling within the ground is, it's fucking happening again. We're going to keep missing chances. We're going to keep missing chances. Then the groans start, right? And then the longer the game remains at 0-0, the nerves get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can sense that. You can sense that in the ground. People that go regularly will be able to attest to that. Of course, you can sense it. But also, it has the flip side of if we start well, we score, then, you know, the momentum will come. Also, when we're aggrieved, had that refereeing performance yesterday happened at Ellen Road, again, our backs get up as a fan base, we feel aggrieved and then can drag the lads through that way. We've already seen this season, you know, look at the Leicester game, for example, where we come back, we beat them 3-1. That atmosphere was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it was so good.
Amazing.
But tense at parts as well.
Yeah. But amazing. As I say, you were lucky enough to be at that game this season, and I can imagine it was amazing. It's at them moments where I look and I think, I wish I was there.
I'm gonna sack off the watch-alongs.
Yeah, midway. But no, yeah, I think, look, Ellen Road's like no other for me.
Yeah.
And it is like no other. Norwich won't want to. They won't be relishing coming to play a second leg at all. You know, I spoke to a Southampton fan, Liam, and he said to me, "No one fears Leeds United going into these playoffs. They fear the fans and Ellen Road." That's what he said to me, and I was like, "Okay, yeah." Because if it does work and we start well, we can really drag the lads through. I think it was positive to see Liam Cooper retweeting our mate's post, Lewis's post yesterday, saying we need this times 1,000. It's that sort of stuff that can really get you going. I think the club have started to play a blinder, bro, with the Marching On Together videos and the clips, which never used to be. You know, in the Rad Resort, I remember you did one. I remember Lewis did one. Do you remember? The club didn't even do this shit, people. Now, it's good that we're run properly now, because all that helps. You know, it might seem trivial to some, but it helps, you know? So all that, you've also, you know, thank God he's okay, but you've also had the situation with the fan outside Carrow Road. Again, it's little things like that where the Leeds United fan base are very aggrieved, and we then lean into that. It's like the dirty Leeds. It's like, okay, you want to call us dirty? All right, we're dirty Leeds. Let's fucking have it, kind of.
And I've been mate as well. Like I don't know if you, but I've been. And I know you do a lot more with like Leicester fans and you know, like other fan bases and stuff like that, but it's actually like, it doesn't, like, other fan bases don't really annoy me. Like Leeds more annoy me because I care about Leeds so much, and it's like I'm not focusing on the noise. You just frustrate me. Just like when you've got, like, you know, you've got a son and he plays football and you're not looking at the other lad, just looking at your son. You need to develop at this point, and then you'll get to ignore everything else. Just you focus on you and all that sort of stuff. And I just feel like I never sort of listen to the rest, but I'll tell you what, I have started to get a little, well, no, I've started to get very annoyed, and it's got under my skin, all of this stuff around just taunting Leeds. And
100%.
It's just, but it's not, it feels like it's not just been one or two, it's been multiple clubs who've just jumped on the bandwagon. So it's almost like we have to harness that, don't we? Backs up against the wall. Yeah. Come on then, you're going at us. Well, we're going to give it to you back, and we're going to win the playoffs. They have to harness that energy.
A very good friend, or four, of ours, who's a Leicester City fan, read into that what you will, messaged me this morning and says, I am shitting a brick if Leeds get promoted, because we'll look like right mugs when we have a points deduction and yous are sat in the league. And I was going, listen, it's going to come back to bite you all if we get promoted.
You give it
100%. Do you know what the best one was for me, bro? And I got really angry at it. We'd been all right with Ipswich. And then on their bus tour, Wolfenden's chatting. Don't mind Wolfenden. He's had a good season. Then all of a sudden, this Jackson comes out of nowhere, singing out of tune. Leeds, try to get everyone on board. No one did, and I thought, who are you, mate? Like, no disrespect to Jackson, you barely played a part all season at all. And then I'm seeing Instagram posts where he's thanking Ipswich for everything because they're releasing him, and I think, what the? Do you know what I mean? What did you expect, bro? Do you know what I mean? So, like, that's what pisses me off. It's that triggering stuff. You mentioned it on a video you did the other day when you're talking about, like, Blackburn and singing along with Leicester, Leeds are falling apart. And it's like, why? Like, but this is what makes it hilarious is, like, this is a Leicester team that have won the Premier League and won the FA Cup in the last decade. And they celebrated more about beating Leeds than anything else. And this just makes me, as annoyed as I am, think it says a prayer, go, we're fucking massive. We're absolutely massive. And that's all you have to take from it, bro.
Well, that's it. But I do think I I get it from a fan's perspective. I completely get it.
Yeah,
but like,
not from players and that, right?
No, not the players and the club. For like the first thing for you tweeting out, like, I predict a riot. It's like, what? That's the first thing you're thinking of. That's the bookmark tweet that, that is insane. Like, so yeah, I find that side of it interesting. But I mentioned it on a vid, mate. Like, mentality-wise, it is perfect. Farker has to use that, especially with a bunch of young lads as well, because we know Ampadu's a bit of a shit house as well. We've got a few in there who can really, gee us up for this one. But as well, like, you look at Southampton, mate. If we do play Southampton in the final, they've beaten us twice. Russell Martin's, got one over or got two over on Farker. They've got to harness that as well. It's like, no, come on, we're not the whipping boys for you here. Like, and I think that because psychology is the biggest thing here, isn't it, Joe? We know ability wise they're more than good enough. It's psychology wise they've got to start really, as I keep mentioning, harnessing that.
Yeah, no, 100%. We do. I think you mentioned it about you using that, and Farker has to mention about being angry and all that sort of stuff, and it's bang on the money. And I think this is where, for me, not so much. Well, the manager has to use it as well, but I tell you who else has to use it is the pros. Cooper. Cooper needs to be saying to them, and it will come from Cooper. He's the only really okay Ampadu potentially, but Cooper will be the one saying, "Have you seen what these are saying about you? Do you know what I mean? Have you seen what's going on?" And yeah, people can have a go at Cooper and his ability and all that sort of stuff, but he's on the nose with that sort of stuff, and we do need to use it. And I genuinely feel that I think it's going to be a special night on Thursday when I think about the fans. I don't think it's going to have that nervous trepidation about it. I think it's going to be a case of backs to the wall, especially with what happened against the fan. You've also got the two Leeds fans that lost their life. The one that took his life after the game against Southampton, rest in peace, and also Hisco, him who unfortunately died. I don't know if you've seen that. He raised 16 grand for NHS, so there's going to be two separate claps for these fans that have lost their lives on that said game. I just think all that can feed into the Ellen Road fan base. We do feel aggrieved at times, and I just think it all feeds into that, and we're a passionate fan base, and we'll use that. And I think it's going to be quite a special atmosphere on Thursday, and I think it'll get the lads through, and we'll progress, man. I'm confident.
Yeah, no, I'm confident as well. Cole said, go on, I know he's a big fan of both our channels, Joe. Top man, Cole. Have you had another kid yet, Cole? I feels like he's popping one out every time Leeds do something positive. Go on, the lads, 2-0 Leeds and through to West Brom on Pennos at Wembley. Leeds are terrible at Pennos, but things can change. I can't really think about Pennos that we've had. Salford won it, Jesus. A joint watch along is the next one. The numbers are climbing, lads. Fair play. Well, we've had chats off air, everybody. There's definitely things coming in the pipeline, definitely between me and Joe. But thank you so much for
2025 people is the year
of Counterpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah, mate. Any other points? We're leading up to about an hour now. Anything else you want to get off your chest?
Just for Paul Jameson in the chat who says, "Get a job, Leeds fans. Greetings from Leicester." Well, the great thing is, Paul, me and Conor do this as a job. So how good are you? We'll do this one video now and then go chill out for the rest of the day. Unlucky.
Yeah, and Paul as well. You look like an estate agent, mate. Chill out. Sorry to all estate agents in the chat. Yeah, guys, make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Just to let you all know, Mondays, probably around 10 o'clock, Joe. I don't know if we're going to start doing this, but yeah, 10 o'clock and or sort of midday timings-wise, we'll let you know all in advance. that we're going to be doing this alternatively on my channel and Joe's channel, but we're also going to be featuring on each of these channels a lot more, especially in the summer months. I'm sure that's going to come around a lot more. Listen, you're all subscribed to Joe's channel, but I will put Joe's channel link in the description below. If you want to catch me even over then, you can catch Joe's channel if you haven't before as well. And yeah, we're going to be doing it alternatively, guys. But this has been really, really nice. There's 11.
Just imagine how brutal it will be next Monday if we both sat here having been knocked out and not in the final.
Welcome to the rumour mill, everybody.
Oh God.
Yeah, mate. But we'll reconvene on Joe's channel next Monday, and then mine. I think the one after that, Joe, we're thinking about potentially meeting down at Ellen Road and doing a few bits.
Yeah.
So we'll work out. We'll work out on that as well. But
if anyone's got a studio space, they can sort us out. Link, drop us a message, man. Drop us a message.
Matt said as well. Nearly had a stroke when Conor was more positive than Joe. Great show, lad. Make sure you keep getting your comments. And everybody, if you just joined, you can watch the replay of this as well. As I say, we'll be on Joe's channel next week. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you for coming on as well, Joe. Really appreciate it, mate.
Loved it. The start of something beautiful. And guys, have a good one. We'll see you in a bit.